it was so refreshing to be heard. As at that time, I was a care partner. No one was listening to me. My mother certainly couldn't speak with me. I was holding it all together, and I wasn't seen or validated by anybody. But to be in that group and to be seen and heard and validated was the most healing thing I could have had. And now I just realize that I don't have to have anything other than an interesting face and listening. And that, I think I remember hearing somebody charged $5 a minute for a phone call to just listen. And it was such a popular phone,
Mhm.
it was a great business for this person just to listen. And
Right.
so what we learned is, love is listening.
Yeah. And this important thing that you're talking about in terms of needing to be heard is also what creates a sense of connection to other people, because it's listening and being heard, but to your point, there is a value also in how we listen. And so, like you said, I mean, well, we can debate the term listen and hear and all of that stuff, but what you're talking about is really being connected to someone else's story,
Mhm.
not superficially, not in a way that is pacifying so that we can hear what they have to say and move on to what we have to do, but stopping for long enough that you become invested in hearing what someone else is going through.
Right.
I mean, talk to me a little bit about, like, when you talk about being heard, what are some of the, I guess what I'm getting at is, what are some of the things that you think really move the needle in people's lives when they're in those moments of being in a small group and being heard and feeling value, even from your own perspective? When you say that you were a caregiver at that time, as an example, and you didn't have anyone validating or valuing, is even a better word, what you were going through. So what do you think is the thing that makes this meaningful, and why are we not doing it?
Well, it takes some effort.
That
Uh,
it's very true, very simple, but it's very true.
yeah, listening without trying to solve somebody's problem, trying to correct, or just, wanting to move on, to be able to let somebody fully experience what they're going through and just share and just say, just continue allowing them to talk about whatever it is. In my case, it was caregiving. And the first time we were together, I mean, we were together a week at this Memory Bridge retreat, so we had time
Yes.
afterwards to hang out. I mean, the best part was at night, we were all kind of in a dorm setting and we're all sitting on beds together, all these women. It was like here we are, in our 50s or 60s or whatever, and we're eating chocolate and talking about our hairstyles back when we were 17. We
Yeah.
just sharing it opened up the doors,
Yeah.
and we felt safe, and we were trusting each other with our lives, and it just flowed out of us. But it
Yeah.
takes a little while to get there. You don't just jump in. You have to just have a continued conversation. It's not just a one-time thing
And I
generally.
think it starts with an open heart, because um, you know, you get in the right setting. I mean, I think that retreat setting is so powerful that you were talking about. There's something about that, which we can talk about that in another conversation.
Right.
But I do think that there's something so powerful about being intentional. I mean, even just getting people to take a moment and come together, or to be open to the idea of connecting in um, a small group setting, a setting where everyone may, even, like, for example, and you can tell me more about some of the groups that you engage in, that you initiate, but everyone doesn't have to come with the same issue. Would that be accurate?
Sure. I mean, we all have a variety of issues. So, I mean,
Right.
I was leading that support group for women who'd had breast cancer. And right in the middle of it, I'm a caregiver for my mother. They were my support group. But then not only were they women who had breast cancer, they also were women who had mothers or fathers or sisters that had been sick or had dementia or were we all have such a variety of experiences that we can share.
Right, right.
So you don't have to have a particular, I was, I've lost my train of thought. What was I thinking about just then?
About the retreat, or about having the same issues, or
No, I was thinking about my stretch class. I was thinking about the stretch class, which was a acronym for Strength Through Recreation, Education, Togetherness, Caring, and Health. And it was initiated by the American Cancer Society back in, gosh, my children were like 2 and 5 when I started teaching that class.
right, right.
And it just ended with COVID. So to give
Oh,
you an
wow.
idea, that was a long time. But the value in that group, even though they'd all gone through breast cancer, they could share their own personal experience. And oh, here's what I was thinking. I was
Oh,
thinking
yeah.
about Brene Brown's vulnerability is the birthplace of love. And
Uh-huh.
it is so true. It is being vulnerable, sharing what you've been through and your true feelings. And that, rather than feeling threatened by opening up that, honesty, it actually draws people to you because they're more they can relate. Now you're really beginning to share your heart, and there's compassion going on, and I have found that to be a real key. That vulnerability part is really opens doors and draws people together, no
I
matter what the setting.
I'm sorry, say it again.
No matter what the setting.
No matter what the setting, no matter what challenges someone may bring, I think that, to your point, there are, I mean, we've seen the small group setting manifest in churches in different ways and things like that. So I think that collectively we get the importance of the one-on-one, the connection, especially when we're more focused sometimes in the larger space, even in the church setting. But here's my thought. I think that this time that we're in, just from a spiritual perspective, is almost an opportunity for reimagining how we see things moving forward. And I say that because things are shifting in our generations, things are shifting in how we connect and do things. We've been Zooming and all this stuff for the last year and a half. We're still going to be doing it. But at the same time, there's like a reimagining that we're being given an opportunity to do in terms of how we are building our relationships with other people. Because you can have a lot of relationships, but the question is, what is the quality of the relationship? And so I, having been with you and having seen and talked to you about the different kinds of groups that you've had, I see all the things that you said as kind of the secret sauce. I think it starts with for lack of a better word, the leader of the group, the person that's, beginning or starting the group, kind of sets the tone for what you want to open up and hope to experience in the group. But I also think that there is a level of transformation and healing that you just talked about. Is there any way you could talk more about what that healing looks like? What kinds of things have you experienced? I'm talking about breakthrough experiences and things like that you've seen take place in any kind of group that you've done that is really tough to happen in the bigger groups, in the larger environment.
Yeah, and that even the term small group, when we start talking about at church, we're going to start small groups. Everybody get plugged in. I'm thinking, oh no, now there's something else I have to do. I'm gonna read a book, and now I've got to keep up. And after the hour-long meeting, and we turn off the Zoom, I think, well, was that worth doing again? I mean, it's really, for me, anytime I get involved in some kind of small group, my whole reason is because I want to get to know the people. I don't care what the topic is. It's what, getting in relationship with people. It's why I had Danny and Ellen and Linda and Don and Brian around my dining room table when we had that conference, because I wanted to get to know those people on a more intimate basis. And, having a conference was great, but if they hadn't have been around my table, we wouldn't have had that interaction that we had that was just magic, singing together, you know.
Yes.
And so anytime I try to pull people together, it's because I'm looking for a deeper, richer, you know,
Connection.
sense of who they are and get to know them so that when we're uh, maybe on a different level, I have a more comfortable feeling, you know, with that person.
Yeah.
You're talking about a specific thing. I'm thinking about a lady that was in the stretch class that when she came, she'd overcome breast cancer and lung cancer and divorce and was just trying to find her way.
Yeah.
And we just, of course, this group of women were very embracing anybody new that came in. You know, we just wanted to make them feel comfortable.
Mhm.
And she came in with a personality that was different than how she ended up over time. She became more
Wow.
who she was. You know, I think she was just trying to find who she was now after going through all that. She's a very smart, very educated person. And now she is in better relationship with her family. She's put weight on, she's healthier, you know, I mean, just a transformation. Thinking about that friend out there that called me saying, I'm isolated and I'm not doing well. Could you come out? The first day I went out there to see her, because of her Parkinson's, her feet were shuffling. She barely made eye contact with me. She's looking down. She hasn't been around people in so long. It's awkward.
Mm.
She was so uncomfortable. By the end of our 2 hours of visiting, her gait improved. She's picking up her knees. She's looking at me in the eyes. She's smiling. She's just transformed before my eyes just within 2 hours. And then after that, she had reason to clean her house and prepare for visitors because we were coming every week. I mean, that was a really quick turnaround. And that was just knowing she had something to get up and live for. You know, she had just become despondent.
I am so in awe of that. I think that, and I shared this with you before, but I'm just going to share it with everyone. I think that I still think we're kind of losing our way. I think that we are, um, I don't want to say we're distracted because not all things are, I mean, there are many things that serve a great purpose. But I think that if our eye is not on the right ball and we're not focused on also our intention around the things that we do, then we're going to miss the mark in what God is really trying to accomplish in so many different things that may seem like messes, but they're allowed in order for us to get to the miraculous part. And so I'm sharing that to say, because I really want you to, you talked about the first story about the lady becoming more of herself. Tell us what that means. Like, what do you mean by that?
Do you know the minute I was talking about her, I just got a flash on my screen
Stop
from
it.
a message from her
Stop
congratulating
it.
me on the birth of our grandchild. So apparently
That's,
somebody's put it out there.
that
She's
is
listening.
crazy.
She's tuned in.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wait till she finds out that her ears were burning.
I know. And then as soon as she finished, I got a call from the lady up the street, 101, with
Stop
the
it.
just called because I know she wants to know the name of the baby.
I told you the devil was trying to keep us from this conversation today. We've got connections
It's
happening all around.
It is happening all around. And
Yeah.
isn't that the way it works? I mean,
It's
I'm
confirming, it's assuring.
yeah. Uh,
Yeah, I was, yeah.
I just think that she had lost her way with the divorce. It was so bitter and so upsetting to her. She'd had some estranged family relations. And I think just the consistency of meeting and the love that we were offering and her being able to express herself and not
No
only
judgment.
no, and Corolla is determined she is going to find me. Sorry, I can't talk right now, Corolla. I'm going to call you in a little while. What's the baby's name? 1-year-old lady, she remembers everything. It's amazing.
Amazing.
Then she started coming to 2 other groups that I was involved with.
Right.
And so she was around a lot. And I just saw her begin to blossom, like when we were in the Heart Song Singers and she was a part of that. There was a couple there that she really got involved with and dancing with the husband, you know, who had dementia. And she just found new life, you know, new purpose, new things that she could offer, and that was validating to her. She did the artwork for the cover of our music book, and it was a surprise. She didn't know it was going to be. And there was just so many things that she just, I think she just blossomed, and now she's become a spokesperson, with the local cancer hospital, and is engaged with that family she wasn't engaged with. I'm not sure how that all happened. I mean, a lot of that is prayer, and just seeking those things. But God is good.
I think he is 100%, and I think what I hear in the thread of that too is how people get to a crossroads in their life, and for whatever reason they're at a crossroads because they've been through divorce or losses, which divorce is like death, but people go through disappointments and losses, and they're at intersections. We reach intersections at different stages of our life too, in terms of our age. And but people go through these intersections in life, and when they reach certain intersections, they need something different than what they had before. And sometimes the something different is not clear to the person. And meaning, whatever you did before that had you feeling fulfilled or satisfied will shift on you when life shifts on you. And so it sounds like, you're talking about your open heart and creating a safe space for people to find themselves, is the word that you're using, but for people to meet that intersection, not having the answers, being able to be heard. And in some cases, you don't know what's wrong. You just know something's not right. But being in a safe place, being in a secure space, and being with people that you feel like are open and trusting, it makes it safe for me to figure it out. And sometimes it's at that intersection that you need something different. I don't know that in that moment of that person's life, if it would have been more rewarding, or it would have been as effective doing anything in a larger scale than what she needed at that point, which was to be connected in a smaller group with a small group of people that really wanted to be with her, that wanted to listen, that wanted to be supportive. And I really think that we're on to some, I think that this is how we are reimagining what community and connection looks like, even as part of a church family. It's not always the big things that are creating the most impact in people's everyday life. And so I'm hearing people in your groups that are coming one way, and you're able to see things shifting almost immediately. And then people want more of what's working.
Mm-hmm. That's what keeps them coming back. Smiles may be the only time they have that big smile, especially I'm thinking about the Heart Song Singers.
Yeah, tell us about the Heart Song Singers.
Well,
I know a little bit, but I want everyone else to know a little bit.
that was just my heart. I had gotten that grant to spread dementia-friendly practices in faith communities. So that was kind of the open door for that. And the grant allowed me, I bought some resources, a lot of books. I actually ended up with a projector and a screen because I
remember.
I'm planning on doing some talking because I had seen the need. And I heard the cries in my spirit. I heard the cries of the caregivers that were alone. I saw them in long-term care. I just wanted to gather them up and help them, with information and with community and support. So that's what I did. And then I had also included a couple of memory cafes in there. I had a short period of time, like a 6-month period of time, to do these things with the intent of continuation. This was just infrastructure, and now let's sustain these programs.
Right.
Well, while I was juggling all these things, I'm teaching class, I'm doing my Caregivers Unite, I'm working for the Alzheimer's Association as the ambassador, I'm planning conferences. I had so many plates spinning.
Yes.
So I wanted to kind of narrow it down. What is doable that I don't have to be just so stressed out all the time?
Right.
And I had seen something I'm always connected online with every single thing that has to do with dementia, so I'm looking and reading, and I see this Giving Voice chorus, and I looked into it. I might even seen it in a magazine to start with,
Mhm.
and looked it up and saw this singing group that was doing really well, that was, run by volunteers. So then I found out there was, I knew there was one going on in Montgomery that was attached to respite care, and I contacted them, and I just got just inspired to have one of those here.
Yeah.
And so it all came together. It was an idea, at first, how these ideas that come out on paper
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
in your spirit. Before you
Mhm.
know it, I've got this weekly Heart Song Singers group. And the first thing was to find volunteers in the church that would help. I don't
Right.
want to try to do this by myself.
Right. Right.
I need people.
You're right.
Amazing. I had like 10 people that wanted to help. And so I got the chance to bring them together first and do a little training, a real preparation. Well, that was our first bonding experience, because instead of me teaching them, I showed a little video, and then I had everybody share their story and why they were there. So now we all knew something about each other that we had no idea even was there. Here we are, church members, we don't know these things. And so now we have this genuinely interested people that want to extend love to others that are going to come. And so when they began to come, this welcoming group are just ready to love these people as they come in, and sit with them and help them sing. It was just joyous. And I had a, a quartet come in and sing for us. What fun that was. It was Valentine's Day, and it was a surprise drop in, this quartet that comes in and sings. And oh, did we have a good time with that? I mean, and then even one of the people in the group had gone out of their way to get a Valentine's card for a lady who was going to bring her husband, and they had a rose, and they had the husband sign it
Mhm.
off in another room, and he was able to give her the rose and that card. He could have never initiated that on his own, because he had FTD. He wasn't going to be able to do it. She's bringing him, and now because the group sees something, an opportunity for him to be able to do something for her, it was just so sweet and meaningful, and it meant so much to her. I don't even remember what the question was.
No, no. I mean, you answered it. You answered it, because I was talking about just how the intention matters, but then also how we see people change right in the middle of these experiences. And so I kind of landed with wanting you to tell us about the Heart Song
Oh,
group.
yeah, it really was.
Just to drive home also the point that there are so many different kinds of groups that you can have, that you have been involved in leading, but the result in all of them, there's this thread that runs through every single experience in a well-intentioned group, where people have this relational transformation and experience that actually affects how they live their every single everyday life. That's the point that I really want to drive home.
And how much it affects my life.
And that was really going to be my next
My
question is,
gosh.
we see how it's changed and how it's changing other people. How do you see this, not only just the gifting of I'll ask you about the gifting part of it and your draw to it, but how have some of these groups that you've led changed you in the process?
I think about the first group that I pulled together in assisted living with my mother. There she was in a foreign land, didn't know anybody, didn't want to come out of her room. And I thought, well, what can I do to bring people together, other than sitting at the dining room table with the
Table,
same
yeah,
people. And we did that, and that was great, but that wasn't enough for me. I need more. There's a lot more hours in the day than just mealtime.
yeah.
And so I volunteered to teach an exercise class. And so in order to get people to come to the class, because everyone's so busy, they allowed me to go and get everybody, so I could go in and out of everybody's rooms. Now I'm getting, I'm just kind of got the run of the place. Now I'm going in and out. Before you know it, I'm helping find sweaters and teeth and help, just whatever is needed.
Right,
Really.
right.
But the exercise group, of course, my mother could be involved in that. And we all came together when we'd play music, and I'd throw a ball to somebody and they would have to say their name, because we're trying to learn who each other are,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
they would throw the ball and then they would say their name. And we
Uh-huh.
just had so much fun together. And it was
Right.
it gave me, because here I was, I mean, it's as depressing to me as it was to my mother to have to make these changes in her life. I'm trying to be cheerful and upbeat and be in charge, but at the same time, I'm crushed. And
Yeah, brokenhearted.
yes, and so I'm trying to find ways that we can both fit into this new location. What are we doing? What am I doing with my life? Because I gave up whatever it was I was doing to do this. So
To be with your mother.
to be with my mother, those relationships are so rich that we developed in that.
Rich.
Yes.
That is,
Yes.
I want to drill down on the word rich, because I think also the reason why you are so special and what you're doing is the richness of it, the purity of it, and the richness of it. And that's why I keep coming back to intention. Because sometimes I think we get an idea of doing something in our heads, but we're not really aware of what is the seed of it. And what I mean by that is it's very important to have the conversation around it, because this is about soul health conversations. But the reason I feel so impassioned about doing it is because we're getting to a place that we're doing things without really examining the seed of it. And so I just see this purity of intention. Why are we doing this? What is the motivator behind what it is that we're doing? And how does that seed grow in the relationships with other people? And sometimes things don't grow because the seed and the intention is not as pure as it needs to be. And so what I'm hearing, what I've seen in you for all these years, but what you've been doing all your life is coming out of this seed of purity and intention of getting to know the other person and doing something meaningful, pouring something meaningful into the life of other people, while at the same time you are suffering.
And that helped me get through it. I think about when I first took on the responsibility of taking care of my mother. And that's what it was.
Yeah.
Responsibility. I had promised my father, as they took him out on the gurney the night he died, and I walked out in the middle of the night following, along behind him, and they loaded him up, and I stood on the front porch, and I just remember saying, I'll take care of mama. It was a promise to God. I'll take over from here. I'll take care of mama. Didn't have any idea what that was going to look like.
Right. We never
not
do.
the condition she ended up in.
Right.
But doing that, taking those steps to fulfill my responsibility and my promise, turned in over the years to pure unconditional love. And there was a lot of burning off, going through the fire and having to get over, my expectations that I had, any disappointments that I had. No longer was my mother able to compliment me on anything that I could do for her. Those meals I used to prepare for the family, and she would call me 30 minutes later with her food that she'd taken home, saying how good everything was. And
Right.
she couldn't do that for me anymore. But
Right.
what I learned through Naomi Files validation therapy, back when my mother was well into dementia, and she was holding a ball like it was a baby and kissing that baby, kissing that ball. And Naomi would say that was a symbol of her, of something, whatever. She's holding a child as if the baby. And I realized she's kissing that ball, and I realized she was kissing her child, which was me.
Yeah, that was you. Yes.
So she was still showing me that she loved me in a way that I had to interpret. And another thing, while I was in those long-term care settings, and I was watching people around me that were other family members, their family member might have been a little further along, maybe they were dying, and I was able to join them in that and learn how to be with someone who is dying, and standing there with someone, holding their hand while they're watching their loved one die. And then to be able to, I have this story of the spirit just sending me into a room with a song on my heart that I didn't have any idea why I was singing it, and went in, and she was on hospice care in the last days of her life. And I began to sing that song over her. And the daughter came in behind me and said, how did you know to sing that song? I said, I don't know. I was just sent in here with this song in my heart. She said, my mother was in the choir. She sang, and her mother was in a coma, but she began to sing with me. That was the thing.
Wow.
So the mother is mouthing these words with me. The daughter's looking over my shoulder saying, how did you know to do that? And
Yeah.
I'm saying, I'm going to listen to the Spirit more often. This is amazing. And I
Yeah.
did. And I began to have more end of life experiences with people and singing, and a lot of singing going on. So this couple that I was telling you about with the Valentine at Heart Song Singers,
Yes.
when the husband was in his last days, I heard that he was in hospice, and I immediately called her. It was 7 a.m, and I called and said, can I come? Let me go. I have to be there. Yes. So I was there bright and early, because you don't know how long someone's going to live. And I went in, and we had this history together of singing together, before all of that dispersed because of COVID. And so we shared a little bit, and her family was there and got to meet them. And then I said, well, can I pray over him? And she said, yes. So I went over and prayed. And then we sang a song together. I sang I'll Fly Away. And she said, how did you know to sing that song? I said, I don't know. It's the one that came to me on the way here. She said, that's the song. His father was a Methodist minister, and that's the kind of music they sang up in this country church. And he would know that song so well. And then I ended it with, I'm so glad we had this time together, just to have a laugh and sing a song. Seems we just get started, and before you know it, comes the time we have to say so long. And that was the end of I've just relived that. What a special opportunity.
Yeah. Like, gonna start crying. It is, I just think that,
Talk about rich.
no, it is, we need to get back to what is really rich and fulfilling in our own lives and the lives of people around us. And I didn't know another way, but to honor what I think is in me to do, which is to delve more into the deepness of our soul. And our soul has to do with our heart and our emotions, our mind, our will, our intentions. And our intentions, we skip over our intentions. We don't understand how our intentions also direct our will, meaning what are we doing and what are we driven and drawn to do? And why do we do it? And God gives us free will, but the soul, from a theological and a spiritual perspective, encompasses all of that. And I just feel a sense of necessity that we are clear and drawn back to the real deep things about how we're living. Because I don't know that we're living collectively an abundant life. Because abundance, as you just described it, in all of the things that we talked about, that we'll continue to talk about, is really deeper than the things that we possess. It really has very little to do with the things that we possess. It has to do with the way in which we live. It has to do with the quality of the relationships that we have. And we talked about this as well, but it is so critically important that even when we look at the diversity and the inclusion of our relationships with other people, that our intentions are straight. Because out of purity of intention comes the quality of a relationship. And so we don't have to create and muster up a relationship with someone different than ourselves when we already are living in the purest of intention to have it. And so I think that is what our relationship speaks to. I think that the work that you're doing, and I know you don't call it work, but the calling that you have on your life that so much extends beyond your caregiving journey, as I told you, is really a model for, I don't care about fame. I don't care about how many followers someone has. I care about what is the quality and what is the intention and the contribution that we're making for people that no one knows, to the benefit and the abundant life of someone else, the quality of their life. And you are doing that. Every single day you are doing that. I don't care what kind of group it is. Every single group that you and I talked about, you've done, has the same threads running through it. If it's an exercise group, if it's a heart song group, if it's a dementia caregiver group, it all carries with it the same intention and purity. And I just feel so strongly that we need to bring out people that are doing what they're doing as the heroes that are doing it, whether they're known or unknown, because they're making an impact that is being known in people's life every single day. And it's not plastered all over the internet. It's happening when people leave your house and they go home, and it's changing us while we're doing it. It's changing you while we're doing it. And that's where I want to land today. I would love for you to share about, just in closing for today, because clearly I think it's important that people know the functionality of a small group, the not necessarily just the practicality of starting a small group, but kind of getting people to thinking about what that means and why do we develop that and how do we do that in our own space. And we can do that in our next conversation. But I would like for you to just impart maybe 3 things to other people, reflectively for yourself, and the value that you see for other people moving forward, no matter where they are in their life, for looking at the quality of relationships and transformation they can have in their life and how they go about doing it through small groups and connection with other people, even during times of COVID.
So 3 things
that you 3 things that you would like to impart into anyone that is listening to this about what, I should say 3 takeaways about what a small group and being part of a relational community can do for them, even during times like COVID, like we're in right now. What are 3 pearls, takeaways?
Well, number 1, you don't have to look far. Generally, it's wherever you are. You know, I go to exercise class, so that's my first thought. Well, what people am I around? You know, where are the other people that I can have a friendship with? And it's usually situational.
Yeah.
And, you know, whether it was in the caregiving setting or if it was in an advocacy setting, like you and I were met in an
Right.
advocacy setting. So just look around. You know, you don't have to do some big, hard search for, you know, unless you're looking for a particular topic that you want to be able to engage in. You know, it could be a painting class or, you know, anything where there's going to be a consistent meeting. That's the first thing. Just find your people.
Yeah.
Or
That's
invite
really
somebody
good.
over for dinner, you know, but find your
I was
people.
just gonna say, another thing is, you know, yeah, it may be hard to go out right now. I mean, we're back there again, but you can always start something yourself.
You know, you can start something, even if it's an outdoor walking group or, you know, anything, something
Yeah.
that you are interested in doing, because you're talking about consistently having to do it. So do something you like and find some kindred spirits, or notice somebody that looks like they could use a lift or some help, or they're lonely, or their yard needs to be mowed. I mean, you can look around your neighborhood and just find somebody, you know, if you want to engage with people, and start there. And then why would we do it? Well, we've talked about it, to enrich our lives, to relieve loneliness, to improve our brain health. You know, that's a big topic.
Yes, it is.
Social engagement is a big one. And I also read recently that the number 1 key to happiness, was some survey, it was a huge survey.
Right.
The number 1 key to happiness in life was random conversations.
Interesting.
Like in the elevator, where
Yeah.
you're standing there staring ahead.
Yeah.
Break the ice. Say something. I try to get people in my class, when my class first started, you know, we're all 6 feet apart at least, we're in chairs, everybody's looking ahead.
Right.
And so I told them that. And I said, now I want you to turn to somebody and introduce yourself, tell them something, you know, and just, you know, I have been working on getting those folks engaged ever since. And we're all great friends now. So number two is why I do it, because it's good for your brain health. It's good for anything good for your brain is going to be good for the rest of your body. It's important. We need it. It's good medicine.
Yes.
And then the whole COVID thing, I think we're all dealing with it in our own way. Everybody has their own take on what they're willing to do and not do, and whether they're in a group physically or whether you're standing apart out in the yard across the fence. We are a creative people, and we can find a way to.
And God can work through Zoom. Let me tell you, it might not be it. Look, there will be nothing better than when we are able to really come together again in all the different occasions that we like. But I do think that we have to leave room and space for the reality that God is not limited by our limitations. And so when we are able to connect with someone, even if it's one person, we can think past the idea of gathering the way we used to. And this is my point. We have to reimagine what our priorities are and how we live those priorities out. And so it's not going to always be about the size anymore. It's going to be about the quality of the experience. And so whether or not we're connecting with someone in an elevator, or we're mindful and reflective that we can live differently, we can be more open in a moment. That is the thing that begins to change our intention, I think. What do you think?
I think you're right. I think I've lost my train of thought again.
So, and then in parting, what would you say your biggest lesson has been for yourself in all of these groups? Like if you picked one thing that's been a thread, that's been the biggest impact or had the biggest impact for all of the groups you've done for yourself, what would it be?
Oh, for myself, the impact. Oh, my life is just rich and full. I think about the people I'm going to see in heaven, because a lot of my groups have been kind of at the end of life,
Yeah.
and or elderly, and I have so many friends that I'm going to see when I get there, that my view of the future is very bright, and there's no fear there, because I've just learned to love people unconditionally, and that is just pure gold.
Well, I think that I can't wait for us to talk about it. I don't want us to overanalyze starting a group or the context of a group and what that could do in someone's life, but I do want us to continue to put this wholeness experience into the world with people that are doing it and living it, and reminding people of how it can positively enhance and pour into their own quality of life. And so I think it's important that we keep saying it, because I feel that people feel they're out of options. And I want to remind people that they're not out of options for things that can enrich their life if we start looking at the right things to enrich our life and our soul. And so I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. You know how much I love you, how much I respect and I value our relationship. I look forward to us being able to have a continuation, maybe part 2 of this conversation, and you'll even have more pearls to bring, because you will have had more groups that you've been working with and different things that have come out of those groups that you can share, so that we can keep ministering to people in this way about the hopefulness of what God can do and how he can heal us and bring wholeness through the experience of doing groups. And so I'm just so thankful for you. Thank you so much, Beth.
I've had a wonderful time talking with you and seeing you. Thank you so much for including me.
You're welcome. Love you.
Love you too.